Aloha! How is everybody doing over at Skinner West? My students, Devin, Jackson, Rohan, Beck. It's Mr. Steve. You remember me? I can't believe it's been 2 whole weeks since our last virtual class was created on March 30th. So it feels like an especially long time since I've seen you all, because of course this past week has been our spring break and we've moved on to doing just one virtual class per week. I'm looking forward to our private lessons this week with hopefully, I know at least Jackson and Rohan have done one and they're going to do a second one this week. Beck is doing one this week. Yeah, I can't wait to see you, Beck. And then hopefully, Devin, you're out there as well. Please send in any kind of video of you practicing, or even if it's just a question about a song or a comment. I'll be posting this to YouTube as before, and then posting a link to that, to the Homeroom app, so you all can engage there. And any questions, comments, anything you want to talk about, I am your guy. I'm there to help you out. I hope that everyone is safe and healthy with all your families. I know that this is kind of a difficult time, and I don't want to sort of pretend that it's not. All those feelings that you may be having are completely understandable, but I will say this: we've made it this far, and hopefully you all are staying healthy and happy. You've made it this far, so we can do it. We can do it. We can get through it together, okay? And one of the best ways to pass time is to learn some stuff. Learn how to play an instrument. And you guys have already learned so much, and I'm so proud of all of you for how much over these last few years you've learned so many different songs, you've performed a bunch of times, and you just keep getting better and better. And that's how we learn. So today, in this video, what I'd like to do is I want to do some review of the songs that we've worked on so far. So we're going to review Lean on Me. We're going to review You Are My Sunshine with the chromatic crawls and fancy schmancy chords. And Imagine. And then we're going to take a dive back into Somewhere Over the Rainbow, the Israel Kamaka Vivole version. So this is going to be a densely packed half hour here. We're about 3 minutes in. We're going to have a lot of material. And hopefully, the idea here is that this is how we get better at things, by reviewing and practicing. And if you make sure my computer's charging there, and I think you all have all the tools necessary to play through these entire songs with me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play Lean on Me through Spotify. Remember, with Lean on Me, I'm going to start with the main chord progression throughout the entire song is just C over to F, back to C, then it's E minor, G, C, back to F, over to C, and then it's just G, C. Now, there's a couple of different parts in there when we go to the just call on me, brother. That's a part where you get to kind of play a C and then do some muting of the strings. And as you remember, muting the strings is when we're making contact with the 4 strings, but we're not actually fretting them. So you get this kind of chukka 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 sound, right? The squawk. Only this time we're squawking on purpose instead of on accident. And there, in that section, you can kind of just play around with the C, and if you want to, you can throw in a G, C, bop, bop, bop. At the very end of the song, the call me, the call and response refrain is just F to C if you need, F to C if you need a friend. So you're just there alternating F to C. And that's that beautiful coasting to a landing ending that we talked about last couple weeks ago. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and play through the song. you'll notice that I'm in my living room this time instead of in my bedroom. I'm getting a better connection out here, and so the lighting might not be quite as good, but sometimes when I make these videos, they get corrupted, and then I have to start all the way back at the beginning again. Adaptation. It's good to stay flexible in times like these. Okay, here we go. So we're going to hear that piano coming in. Hopefully you can hear that. E minor, G, and then hum. Sometimes in our lives we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Here we go. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me. Call me if you need a friend. Call me, if you need a friend. If you ever need a friend, call me. 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 If you need a friend. Call me. 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 Ooh, okay, that was lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay, so you'll probably notice that I was looking down off screen occasionally. I printed off some lyrics off the internet. So if you ever Google, right, Lean on Me, lyrics. And remember, lyrics spelled Lyrics. Lyrics. You can kind of read along with those. They're fairly easy to remember, but keep in mind that's a lot of words for one song. So now, next up, we're going to look at You Are My Sunshine again. Probably a lot less lyrics and a simpler song, but this is a version that I think is so uniquely ours. We've kind of helped craft this together. And I think last time we worked on it, I said, it's easy as C, F, G. It's easy as 1, 2, 3, right? C, F, G. And of course, I'm referring to a G7, which is a little different from a standard G. Instead of the 3rd fret E string, you're on fret 1. These are fairly simple chords, but keep in mind, I want to try for the final verse to implement those fancy schmancy chords all the way up here. And of course, that chromatic crawl in the 1st and 2nd verse happens on the 3rd fret to the 2nd fret to the 1st fret of your A string. And when we get to the fancy schmancy final verse, we're going to be on fret 8, 7, 6 of our E string. Okay, so if you have those diagrams handy, check them out, use them. If not, take a minute, maybe pause the video, and you can go back and look at those images. They might be helpful to you. Without further ado, let's just hit it. Let's launch right into You Are My Sunshine. I'm going to try to establish a consistent tempo here. That's one of the main things we've been working on is tempo, which is just a fancy word for it. Speed or the rate at which you play a song. The rhythm, the beat, the strum. Let's get ready to rumble. Or as I like to say, let's get ready to strumble, right? Okay, here we go. 1 and a 2 and a 1. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. When skies are gray, you'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. The other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamed I held you in my arms when I awoke, dear, I was mistaken, and I hung my head and I cried. Here we go. 2 and a 1. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. When skies are gray, you'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Please don't take my sunshine away. Okay, great. And that icing on the cake ending there is something I'm going to teach you guys in a subsequent class, a class later on. But great job, excellent work. Next up, we're going to turn back to John Lennon's Imagine. Okay, so this one is a fairly tricky song. It's got a very classic structure. A lot of songs have kind of a 3-verse, 3-chorus structure. This song has 3 verses and 3 bridges, but 2 choruses. and they follow kind of along each other. You'll notice, of course, this has a chromatic element to it as well, with the open A string, first fret A string, second fret A string, then we jump to our G at 3, or our E string at 3, which is a G. Don't want to confuse you guys there. So in our verses, we've got our C chord, our C major 7, which is second fret A string, and our F, pretty familiar chords. Our bridge, we've got F, A minor, D minor, F, then G, and a G7. And then in our chorus, of course, we've got F, and G, and C, E7, which you will remember first finger, G string fret 1, second finger, C string fret 2, leave the E open, second fret A string. So 1, 1, 2, open 2. It's a really great chord. I love that one. Okay, so I think you have all the tools necessary to play along with the recording, which we're going to just launch into it right about now. And again, if you have any questions or you're not quite sure if you're ready, you can always pause this video and just take a moment to get your bearings, figure out how you want to do it. Okay, I encourage you, of course, to sing along. Make a meal out of it. Okay, here we go. Imagine. We're going to hear that piano.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It's hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, or brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one.
We're not the only ones.
I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
Woo. That's my thing when we finish a song. I go, woo! Give yourselves a round of applause. This is a densely packed class today. We're really focusing on less talking and more playing. I hope that you're finding this enjoyable and cohesive, coherent, making sense to you. Next up, of course, we're going to turn to Somewhere Over the Rainbow, the legendary rendition, wasn't written by Israel Kamakawiwo'ole. I know that it was famously sang by in The Wizard of Oz by the character of Dorothy, and that's a great Judy. What is it? Is it Judy Garland is the actor who played Dorothy in that famous film, The Wizard of Oz, which I used to watch over and over and over again as a kid. I couldn't get enough of that movie. I watched it so many times. It just was magical to me. But Israel Kamakawiwo'ole created his own rendition of the song. Sometimes in the music industry we call it a cover. And it's now become almost synonymous with the ukulele. There's my speaker talking to me. It's almost become sort of deeply associated with this instrument. When people say ukulele, a lot of people go, "Oh, have you heard that Somewhere Over the Rainbow?" So, and as you may recall, Israel Kamakawiwo'ole was one of the only people in Hawaiian history to be given a royal funeral. He was one of the only non-royalty people. He was a common, musician, but he was so legendary, and people were so attached to him as a musician, and the culture was so in love with what he stood for that he was given a royal burial at sea. They scattered his ashes in the ocean. So you'll see that if you Google Somewhere Over the Rainbow, you'll see that music video. And then the recorded version of it he did was sort of a mashup of Somewhere Over the Rainbow and his rendition of What a Wonderful World. Different from the one that we learned in the key of F by Louis Armstrong. His is also in the key of C. And that's one thing that all four of these songs today have in common, is that they are in the key of C, which is sort of the natural habitat of the ukulele. That's its natural open tuning that it's in. Of course, we're going to be getting to some more complicated key signatures as well down the road. But for today, we're just really sticking with these classic C-rooted songs. Now, with Somewhere Over the Rainbow, some of you may still have this, some of you may not. Go ahead and pause the video if you want. You can look at these 6 chords. You'll notice, however, that this one, E7, really only comes in the very introduction of the song. But mostly you've got your C, E minor, F, A minor, last but not least, G. Those are the main 5 chords that you're going to be playing throughout this song. And you guys, I think, are pretty familiar with it at this point. So, also, another thing to keep in mind is that in that little intro that I was kind of playing part of at the very top of this video, there's a little part before that happens where Izzy plays a pretty quick succession of chords. It's about, we call it cut time because the transitions are twice as quick as they are during the rest of the main body of the song. So what you've got there is, if you want to learn it, you don't have to play along with that part. But if you want to learn it, it just goes C, G, A minor, and F, and C, G, A minor, and then F, F, and then ooh. It's kind of fun to sing, and that's called a falsetto voice, when you're singing kind of with your head voice as opposed to your chest voice. So instead of ooh, it's ooh, a little bit lighter. Now you might be wondering, what was I doing there at the very end of that little intro to the intro? It's actually a really interesting little chord there. He's playing a version of an F. However, instead of the first finger being at the E string at fret 1, you're going to move your third finger over and play a G there, which is the 3rd fret of your E string. So you're still on the 2nd fret of the G string, C string and A strings still open, but there briefly he does it's a really beautiful chord. 2nd fret G, open C, 3rd fret E, right, which is a G, and open A. and then he brings it back to the classic F chord. So it's going from the 3rd fret to the 1st fret, and then and that's where we get into our introduction. The first 2 verses with words, we have a C, E minor, then F, and back to C, and F, back to C, and G, A minor, and F. Then that repeats in the second stanza has slightly different words, but it's the same exact chord progression. Then we get to sort of what you could call a chorus section. The someday I wish upon a star. There, instead of transitioning from a C to a G, E minor, we go to a G. So C upon a star, G where the clouds are far, A minor, and then F, C, and G. And this is just a repeating of that. A minor, F. Then we go one last time with that same structure as the verses. C, E minor, F, C, G, A minor, F. And then we're going to go right back up to the previous stanza that we were at, the someday I wish upon a star again. And then that's when the section of the video kind of goes to his funeral at C, and then that's sort of when we kind of fade out the song. And we can work on that when we get back to class. We'll kind of help choreograph how we play it live. It's always fun to kind of arrange these things. So without further ado, let's go ahead and I'm going to play it via YouTube. And we're going to play through the whole song, the whole enchilada. Here we go. Hopefully this sound is not too loud, not too quiet for you guys.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, and the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. Oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dreams that you dream of, dreams really do come true. Ooh, someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where trouble melts like lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you find me. Oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dream that you dare to, oh why can't I? Someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind
Lost it there for a second.
me, where trouble melts like a lemon drops, high above the chimney tops. That's where you find me. Oh, somewhere
fade out. Okay, so everybody hanging in there? Able to play along, hopefully? I hope so. Um, Boy, this has been a lot of fun. And we're at 30 minutes now, just over. So I'm going to leave you there, but I want to say, uh, again, just how much I care so deeply about all of you, and I hope you're staying healthy and happy during this time. And I will be posting this just in a moment to YouTube, and then a link to that video on Homeroom. Comments are disabled on YouTube, but you can comment on Homeroom or your parents if you have any questions. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you. I'm really proud of the way you all so far have been dealing with this situation we're in, and I think that you've really brought me a lot of joy, and it's really great to connect with you as your teacher still. And remember, we're going to get through it. Virtual fist bump from Mr. Steve. We're going to get through it together. Everything's going to be okay. So mahalo. Thank you for helping me teach you. And I will see you next week.